Why would anyone hate Jennifer Lawrence? How did Hollywood's Golden Girl go from being the most loved actress in the world to someone many people didn't even want to see on screen anymore? What really happened behind the smiling face, the quirky interviews, and the glamorous red carpet appearances? There's something much darker hiding behind that laughter, and the deeper you look, the more disturbing the truth becomes. Jennifer Lawrence wasn't just a rising star, she was a comet. She lit up the screen with raw talent, charm, and authenticity. In her early 20s, she was already winning Oscars, breaking records, and being hailed as the most relatable celebrity in Hollywood. With her down-to-earth personality and goofy sense of humor, it felt like she was the girl next door who just happened to become one of the biggest stars on the planet. But as the applause grew louder, so did the whispers. Some began to question whether the clumsy, carefree image was real or carefully crafted. And then came the shift. Her films started to flop. The same audience that once adored her now seemed tired of her. Critics were harsher, online hate became louder. Something had changed, not just in her career, but in the way the world saw her. And then Jennifer vanished. For over 2 years, she disappeared from public life, leaving fans wondering what had really pushed her into hiding. For a long time after her disappearance, silence was the only thing we heard from Jennifer Lawrence. No interviews, no movie premieres, nothing. It was as if Hollywood's brightest star had simply burned out. But what pushed her to that point, and is she planning a powerful return? From the very beginning, Jennifer's fame was unlike anyone else's. Her charm came from her flaws. The unfiltered laugh, the awkward red carpet slips, the moments where she said things no other celebrity would dare say in front of the cameras. She wasn't polished, and that was the point. While others built carefully curated images, Jennifer let the world see her exactly as she was. And that made people feel connected to her, until it didn't. Somehow, that same honesty became the reason people turned against her. The public seemed to wait for her to mess up, just to tear her down, whether it was a joke taken the wrong way or a moment of spontaneity that didn't sit well with the media. Jennifer became a target for criticism, and yet none of it seemed to change her. She didn't try to hide or fake a new persona. She stayed raw, real, and unapologetic. But maybe that's exactly what made Hollywood too uncomfortable. But that's when you start realizing maybe her unfiltered attitude wasn't a flaw. Maybe it was her secret weapon, the very thing that set her apart in a world obsessed with perfection. And while many thought she was just being clumsy or too casual, it was all part of a deeper truth they weren't ready to see. What many didn't understand back then is that Jennifer Lawrence wasn't navigating Hollywood blindly. Her moves, even the ones that seemed awkward or too real, were rooted in something powerful. She had a deep understanding of herself, and the clearest proof of that, Katniss Everdeen. When Jennifer took on the role in The Hunger Games, something unusual happened. The line between actress and character blurred. It was no longer just a performance. It was her. She didn't just play Katniss, she became her. Her sarcasm, her directness, her rough edges, they weren't from the script. They came from Jennifer's own personality seeping into the role, reshaping what fans expected, even if it strayed from the books. And strangely, it worked. The public was mesmerized. Not just because she was talented, but because she seemed so real. She once joked that acting was a silly job and that we should be praising firefighters and doctors instead. She fangirled over meeting Harry Potter at a party like any one of us would. And just like that, the biggest star in Hollywood became the most relatable. She wasn't the queen on a pedestal. She was the girl next door who accidentally stumbled into fame, or at least that's how it felt. But fame doesn't always ask for permission. It just crashes into your life. Jennifer wasn't glamorous or overly polished or chasing awards with carefully rehearsed interviews. And yet, the industry couldn't ignore her. From the moment she stepped onto the screen in Winter's Bone in 2010, people noticed something different. At just 20 years old, she was nominated for an Oscar. Not because of connections, not because of hype, but because she was that good. Then came X-Men in 2014, where she slipped into the skin of Mystique with an intensity no one expected. Around that same period, she auditioned for a role that would redefine her career: The Hunger Games. And when the first film dropped in 2012, the numbers said it all. Over $700 million at the box office. Jennifer Lawrence wasn't just a rising actress anymore, she was a phenomenon. And yet, her rise didn't stop there. Silver Linings Playbook won her an Oscar at just 22. A year later, she was nominated again for American Hustle. Then came X-Men: Days of Future Past, another hit. And in 2015, a fourth Oscar nomination for Joy. That's 4 Oscar nods before turning 26. In a matter of years, she'd become the face of modern Hollywood. The Hunger Games series alone earned nearly $3 billion worldwide. To the world, it looked like nothing could stop her. But here's the strange part. Jennifer didn't seem fazed. She still joked like the goofy girl next door, still gave interviews, like she didn't care about filters or fame, still laughed at herself. In the middle of red carpets, billion-dollar franchises, and Oscar speeches, she remained normal. But how long can someone survive in Hollywood by staying real? Because what was once seen as charm would soon be turned against her. But here's the thing about Hollywood: they love you until they don't. At first, Jennifer's unfiltered charm was her weapon. She was raw, funny, clumsy, unpredictable. People loved her for that. She didn't fit the mold, and that's exactly why she became the mold. But in this world of flashing cameras and temporary fame, being different only works until it stops working. Because that same energy, the one that made people adore her, slowly turned into ammunition. As she grew older, more mature, and more serious about her work and life, the public didn't evolve with her. They wanted the same old Jennifer, the silly one, the goofy one, the one of us who tripped on red carpets and said awkward things in interviews. And when that changed, the tone changed. Suddenly, what was once called funny became rude. Charming became annoying, and the shift wasn't subtle, like that night at the Golden Globes, when she snapped at a foreign journalist who was reading questions from his phone. It wasn't meant to be harsh. Maybe she was just tired or joking in her usual way, but the internet didn't care. They called her arrogant, entitled, disrespectful, or that time she made a light joke about being overweight, or about actor Val Kilmer. It was nothing out of line, at least not by her old standards. But this time, the backlash came fast and loud. Memes, articles, public statements. Everyone had something to say. Years earlier, it would have been brushed off as typical Jennifer Lawrence humor. But now, it was fuel for outrage. And suddenly, everything started to crack. As her fame skyrocketed, Jennifer found herself drowning in the very thing that made her famous: tension. It was supposed to be the key to her success, but now it was her biggest problem. Hollywood has a way of pushing people into the spotlight until they're no longer special. The more she became everywhere, on every magazine cover, in every article, and every viral meme, the more she lost her charm. The media, it seemed, wasn't just celebrating her anymore. It was using her. It felt like she had become a product, the latest trend that everyone felt the need to consume. Like a TikTok sensation whose 15 minutes of fame couldn't last forever, Jennifer was at risk of being boxed into a role no one ever expected: overexposure. And it wasn't just the public's exhaustion that made things worse. She was also making bad career choices. Films like Joy, X-Men Apocalypse, Mother, and Red Sparrow, all of them failed to live up to expectations. But the worst one of them all, Passengers. 2016. Despite the huge anticipation surrounding it, the movie was nothing short of a disaster. Not only did the film fall flat with audiences, but it also suffered from a critical failure. The plot was weak, the chemistry between her and her co-star didn't work, and the project overall lacked the magic Jennifer was once known for. The buzz, gone. The excitement fizzled out. Jennifer Lawrence wasn't just the hot star anymore. She was becoming the burnt-out celebrity with nothing but failures to show for it. As time passed, even Jennifer herself began to realize the extent of her misstep. She had always prided herself on being genuine, a woman who didn't care about fitting into Hollywood's typical mold. But now, she found herself trapped in a web of her own making. She had become a character in her own story, not the actress, but someone simply trying to please the audience. And that was where everything started to fall apart. Jennifer admitted herself that Passengers wasn't a film she was truly proud of. She made it because she believed this was what the audience wanted: a big-budget, star-studded project that would keep the hype train rolling. But in doing so, she lost herself. She wasn't playing a role that felt true to her. She was performing to meet expectations. This was her biggest mistake. She had turned into a puppet, not just for the producers, but for the audience as well. And this, as any seasoned celebrity can tell you, is the danger of becoming too predictable. It's like a beloved TV series that runs too long, dragging out an arc simply because fans demand more. Eventually, the story loses its magic, the characters become stale, and the audience grows disinterested. What once seemed like an exciting new chapter in Jennifer's career soon felt like a forced, uninspired repetition. She was no longer the fresh, exciting actress audiences once adored. She was just another star trying too hard to keep her spot at the top. Over 9 years, she made 22 films, and the constant back-to-back projects seemed like a marathon she couldn't stop running. Between the premieres, interviews, and endless media events, her identity became a blur. What had once been fun and spontaneous now felt like a grind. And like any actor who is pushed too far, Jennifer began to experience the consequences. People began to notice. And worse, they began to get tired of her. Suddenly, the public's fascination with Jennifer Lawrence began to shift. No longer was she the fresh, relatable, genuine star people had once adored. Now, the question lingered in the air. Why are we so interested in her? What does she actually do, aside from stumble at awards ceremonies and get caught in the whirlwind of failed films? Her once irresistible charm, her authentic, spontaneous demeanor, was slipping away, and in its place, a new version of Jennifer emerged. One that seemed to be trying too hard to maintain the image people had once loved, the very thing that had made Jennifer relatable. Her down-to-earth personality started to feel forced. Gone were the moments of pure spontaneity. Now, she appeared like someone deliberately performing for the cameras, trying too hard to remain the girl next door in a world that had already moved on. The buzz started to shift, and murmurs circulated that perhaps Jennifer was playing a role, not just on screen, but in her everyday life. People began questioning if her every move was calculated, a strategic attempt to stay in the public's good graces. And this suspicion only grew stronger after the Oscar fall incident in 2014, where she famously tripped while walking to accept her award. The public had adored that moment the year before, thinking it was endearing, but now they were left wondering, is this another act? Another performance designed to capture hearts and minds? Was Jennifer merely trying to repeat the same old tricks, relying on her past charm to maintain the attention she once had so easily? And if that wasn't enough, her personal life soon became tabloid fodder. The press latched onto her relationship with Mexican producer Javi Weston, which, rather than providing her with any privacy or respite, only added more pressure and scrutiny. Suddenly, it seemed like everything she did was being analyzed, dissected, and transformed into yet another point of controversy. But the winds of change were about to blow in a way Jennifer Lawrence never saw coming. It wasn't just her career that was being scrutinized anymore, it was her association with one of the most powerful and destructive figures in Hollywood, Harvey Weinstein. When the shocking revelations about Weinstein's years of sexual abuse came to light, the entire entertainment industry was shaken to its core. Hollywood, which had long been complicit in his actions, suddenly found itself in damage control mode. Weinstein's crimes didn't just ruin lives, they also threatened to tarnish the careers of those who were connected to him. Jennifer Lawrence, who once proudly boasted about working with him, now found herself caught in the web of scandal and whispers. For years, Weinstein had been a silent force behind the scenes, manipulating careers, making and breaking stars. He was known for getting what he wanted, often at a great personal cost to the actresses who crossed his path. Jennifer, who had been under his influence since her Oscar win, found herself suddenly painted with the same brush as the countless other women who had suffered at his hands. Weinstein himself was not above using Jennifer as a pawn in his attempt to deny the mounting allegations. He had once claimed, with a sense of arrogance, that no one slept with him for a role or an award. "Ask Jennifer Lawrence," he said, suggesting that their friendship somehow justified his behavior. But as the full extent of his crimes came into focus, the narrative surrounding Jennifer became murkier. She wasn't just an innocent bystander. Her relationship with Weinstein now appeared to many as an uncomfortable part of the puzzle, and the rumors about how she had won her Oscar only fueled the fire. There were whispers that Jennifer's win for Silver Linings Playbook wasn't about her talent, but about something darker, something that had been manipulated behind closed doors. Critics argued that her performance, while impressive, wasn't extraordinary enough to earn an Oscar, especially when compared to the iconic Emmanuelle Riva in Amour or Jessica Chastain in Zero Dark 30. And then there was the film itself, Silver Linings Playbook, a movie that wasn't the kind the Academy traditionally fawned over. The doubts about her victory grew louder, and soon people began questioning the price Jennifer Lawrence had paid for that golden statue. Jennifer Lawrence's attempts to distance herself from Harvey Weinstein's dark cloud were met with resistance from all sides. When she spoke about him, she tried to clear the air by painting a picture of a mentor-mentee relationship, a father figure, dynamic that, in her mind, had never crossed any boundaries. But no matter how many times she denied the accusations, her words became a double-edged sword. It wasn't just the fact that she had worked with Weinstein that caused the problem. It was her comments that seemed to perpetuate his defense. She spoke about how Weinstein had never crossed the line with her, even going so far as to say that he had admired her for being strong and outspoken. She even recounted how he had told her that the women who had been assaulted by him had simply been too weak to stand up for themselves. Jennifer's attempt to defend herself in this way only made things more complicated. To many, these comments didn't come across as defiant or empowering. Instead, they seemed naive and out of touch with the gravity of what had happened. She had tried to explain that she would never have let herself be silenced, but in doing so, she inadvertently minimized the pain of the women who had suffered at Weinstein's hands. She made it seem as if their inability to speak out was a sign of weakness, rather than the result of manipulation and systemic abuse. In trying to stand tall and defend herself, Jennifer Lawrence had inadvertently become embroiled in a scandal That was larger than her. Her natural, unscripted responses, which had once made her so lovable to the public, now seemed inappropriate and miscalculated in the face of such a monumental crisis. People weren't looking for authenticity anymore. They were looking for accountability, for someone who understood the weight of the situation.